Well, howdy ho, good neighbor. It is apparent that we're firing up the drone and we're lifting off high above Alameda, California. And we're going to fly this drone up over the Oakland estuary to the Oakland recycling glass plant. So before we do, we got to get high enough over those wires. There is some invisible wires there that will take your drone out, but I know that we have flown this path many a times. Yes, every time I come over here to the glass plant, well, not every time, but most times, I like to fly this same pattern and give you this exclusive look through the smokestacks of what is happening here at the Oakland glass plant on Memorial Day weekend. That's right. This would be the Friday of Memorial Day weekend, 2025, the year of our Lord, May. So look at that. The Oakland glass plant on Memorial Day weekend. Wow. Look at the progress they are making. It's always amazing for me to see just how much work they get done in such a short amount of time. Now, every time I come here, I am surprised about why it's not just falling down, but they do things precise here, I tell you. But every time I come, I'll do that same little through the smokestacks and the back out shot, and I think I will continue to do that for time purposes. So this is how it's done. Inner city demolition out of Oakland, California is really just knocking this job out of the park, as they say. But I tell you what, when they get busy, they do not stop. You can see almost every bit of equipment running on this job today. And it's a holiday weekend, so I don't think they have time to rest. But I am realizing that if you want to come here and drone and get some spectacular shots, well, they are all spectacular, but you're not going to see anything crumbling down at a fast pace. Everything is slow and precise, and I have said that before, but the more I see this, the more I know it is true, that these people know what they're doing and they have to be careful. So if you look inside here, you can see that they have got all their equipment running, and even they hollow out the building. So I do believe that gravity has a big part to do with how these buildings come down. You can see that machinery in there is taking the insides out like a fish. They're gutting it, and you could see the roof, how it falls. That's right, because they've taken out all the support. So I was always waiting for that big piece of metal to fall, but of course, like I said, they are safe here. They don't want anything crushing down on their workers or their equipment. That would be not good. So there you go. I was wondering how long it would be before one of these tractors actually tore off a piece of that roof and it got collapsed on, but nothing ever like that happened. Now I tell you, this man right here, his job all day was to just separate the good metal from the old metal, or should I say the small metal. And boy, did it take a lot of work for each one of those piles to be moved around by a person. That's right, that piles just didn't show up there. Those are each one of those piles has a position, and one of those pieces of equipment has a magnet on it, so that's what that one is. I get a better shot of that later in the video, but there you go. There's your pullback shot of the Oakland glass plant. Now you can see all this concrete still needs to be busted out. And it looks like they started on the corner of that brick. So you can see the inside of that building is all hollowed out almost all the way. And look at that. One little small piece left. That's correct. They'll have that down in no time. It seems like they're just starting on that half of the building. The tall metal structure building is what they are concentrating on before they move to the, I guess you call the smokestacks. But it is definitely against the way I would have demoed this building. I thought they would start at one end and work their way around to the other end, but nope. They just basically started in the middle and worked their way both sides. So don't believe everything you think. So if you see this metal right now, well, look at it for the last time. This is what it's been like for tens of years. This metal, and now there you go. It's going to the scrapyard. And this green box has caught my eye the whole time. I'm waiting for that green box to go down. I've been watching it, and they've been making their way to it. Before, I could barely see it through all the scrap metal, but now they got a clear path. So, that green box, man, would I like to have a piece of that. But that's that roof that's ready to fall down, so they have to be careful on when and where they start pulling that material down from. You can see there's still a lot of concrete on the floors and a lot of metal just spaghettied through there. So I am surprised that they left some of those old file boxes in there. And if you look deep in the dwellings of that plant, it's all wet, and these equipment's got to not be stuck. So they got to be careful when they move around down there. So that's that green box that I'm talking about. I wonder if anybody who's ever worked here recognizes that green box. And there's the mist boss. That's right. I think that says some kind of dust boss. So that's what controls the dust. And that's the boss of the dust boss. Or maybe he's just a tractor operator. Yeah, he looks like he's going down. He's not the dust boss operator. He looks like he's the real boss going down for another bite of the elephant, as they say, because that's what it is, an elephant. That's how you eat it. Yes, sirree, this is how you eat an elephant. If you look at all this square footage, this was all glass plant, and these neighbors were surrounded by the noise, and they continue to be surrounded by the dust and the noise, and they have not seen nothing yet, because all this concrete needs to be busted out. That's right, you're looking at, oh my goodness, weeks and weeks of concrete getting busted out. So if you think the job was loud now with the construction of metal being torn down and metal being thrown around, just wait till the jackhammers start with all the dust. So that'll be interesting. So the old water dust boss better get ready, because they're going to have to really control the dust on this one. So there's the backside. I wouldn't say this is 1/4 done, because look at all that. Maybe 1/8 done, because they still have a lot to do. I would say they probably 1/4 done, but boy, does it seem like they still got a lot. But like I say, they move fast. But when you're sitting there droning them, they move slow. It's almost like weeks and days and years. The days go by slow, but the years go by fast, if that makes any sense. So I'm curious on how are they going to get rid of these bad boys. Usually in the movies or on television, they blow them up with implosives and let it crumble to the ground. So boy, will that be a sight to see if they do that. Or maybe they'll build scaffolding and just jackhammer it little by little. I don't know. Looks like those straps, just bust those straps off and it'll just fall apart. What do you think? Yeah. Well, that I was here in the morning time, and I thought if I come back in the afternoon, they would be really ripping apart at that building, but they weren't. And I found out that, believe it or not, the sun kind of blows out your camera. So you think that there was clouds, that's not good to fly in, but nope. I think when you fly with overcast, it's a little better. You don't get the shadows of the equipment moving around, but I think you could see in the building better. I don't know. But here is where I turned around and I noticed, oh boy, am I going to get some action? Is he going to be tearing that roof off? I don't know. So I rushed over there and I saw him tearing at this building. And this is the first time I've seen some action over here. So I said, I need to get over here and watch some of this. And I do believe that this was that man that he was, he was walking down in that hole. Yeah, he got in that tractor and he started tearing this building apart. So what I found out was that mister always gets in my way. If I try to zoom in, my camera picks up on the mist. So there's never a good angle here. But what I realized as I'm zooming in on some of this equipment in there, this is glass making equipment. So they only recycled glass here, but they made bottles, I do believe, because he tears out a big chunk of what looks like to me is glass recycling. There's a little bit of that roof. Look at, yeah, we finally seen some roof come down. Finally. Look at that. Oh boy. That's what I've been waiting for. I thought he definitely would take that big chunk down, but nothing. But I was happy to see that. But you can see right in there where he's digging around, that looks to me like it used to be a bottle making equipment. So if you guys worked here, maybe you can tell me what that equipment is he's tearing down right there. Because it is one big chunk, and you can see he's pulling on it, and that's the neat thing about these guys is they can pull and tug, and that stuff is built to last. So a lot of times you'll just see them give up and they'll go move on to something else, and that's exactly what he did. But I kept my eye on him, you know. I made sure that he wasn't going to tear that big piece of roof down without me seeing it. And of course, he didn't even go back to it. Yeah, that's what you expect for expecting, as they say. But he was not done digging into whatever he was trying to pull out. You can see it's some kind of equipment there, so yeah, he was fighting that one. But spoiler alert, there it is. He's getting it. You can see the dust. And usually when there's dust, there's something breaking. So who's going to win? Well, we're going to find out right now. But this is what I was talking about. When you start pulling stuff, you got to be careful. So I broke out the old zoom lens, and you can see exactly what he is doing. He's trying to pull out all that metal. You can see him backing up here. So it is like a tug of war with whatever you're pulling on. And there's that green box. I keep watching that green box catches my eye. I don't know why, but it's just one of those things that you see and say, when will it disappear? It's kind of like a good focal point. So next time I go out there to drone, I will see if the green box is still there. That's kind of progress. Well, it looks like this man is having a hard time doing whatever he's doing. So I took the old zoom lens off of him. Like I said, there's only so much patience you can have watching these guys. And when you have the zoomed out lens, well, at least you get the other guys working. But the zoom lens, well, that could get a little boring. And I'm sure all these videos could get a little boring, but I'm telling you what, this is history in the making, so I guess history is boring. But you'll look back on this someday and say there was something on that big plot of land, and it wasn't an Amazon distribution center. Matter of fact, this is how we used to make factories back in the day. Now we just make big, square, ugly buildings. Nothing like this. Well, my drone battery went dead, believe it or not. So guess what? That's why you have 2 batteries. And I can't get into a more safer neighborhood to fly from. Like I said, you could see those invisible wires right there. You see, if you took off too low right there, you would crash your drone. So if you look hard enough, you could see there's wires going across there. And boy, did I almost hit one time. So you live, hopefully, and learn. Or you die and crash your drone and learn. Hopefully the latter, as they say. Well, are we going to take that same shot that I've been taking? Well, why would I do that again? Why would I take the same exact shot that I took last time? So this time I went around the smokestacks. And the only reason that I really put another battery into this drone and kept flying is I wanted to see this man take this green box out. I know he was working on something over here really hard, so I said I better just keep this drone in the air. So this video might be a little longer than the other ones. I've still yet have found a good video length. What is the perfect video length? Is it 15 minutes? Is it a half an hour? Some people like full 45-minute hour videos. I know when I watch a video that long, I usually put it in double speed in the settings. And especially with somebody that talks slow like me, you almost want to put it in double speed. All right, well, I guess I stuck this battery in here for a reason, and it was to concentrate on this one individual right here. So, is he doing anything, or is he just sitting there? It's really hard to tell. But I really think he was pulling and pulling and pulling, and he just wasn't getting anywhere. Now, listen to me and listen to me good. When you are pulling something like this is why he's doing it slow. You have to be careful and look at that. That is getting pulled on as we speak. One big chunk of whatever that is. You can see it. Oh my goodness, he's almost got it. Now, I've said it before, I've said it again. Whenever I'm that low, my drone signal loses signal with me. So I have to raise up to the sky like this to get my signal back. And boy, does that make a great shot. So I got my drone signal back. And I want a speaker on this drone so I can direct these guys. Hey, you move over here, you pull harder here, and you move that over here to make a better shot. But it's not about me. It's about this piece of metal that this guy keeps fighting with. And he's going to get it if he pulls hard enough. But I don't know if his tractor has the strength. That's the problem. If you pull and pull and pull, well, you could end up breaking something on your tractor. But look at that dust. Yep, he's getting somewhere. Yeah, I would say he's getting some breakage, as we call it. So there's that zoom, zoom, zoom lens, and you can see what he's pulling on. That makes me think that was some kind of bottle making equipment or refinery or something. But look at how strong that stuff is built to last. It's almost like a tug of war. It's that machinery saying, I've been here since the 40s and 50s. I am not coming out. Look at that. So you can see where that machine operator, he wants to get one big chunk out. He would rather take that all out in one piece than little pieces. So it looks to me like he's almost getting it. It is breaking. It's coming down. Look at that. Oh, look at timber. Oh, wow. He did it. So does that look like bottle making equipment? I don't know. It's got shingles on it. I don't know what it was. All I know is he pulled and pulled. And look at that green box. It's hanging on by a thread. I'll be darned. You see how he's scraping the top of that off? But there's that green box hanging on by a thread. I'm sure it's gone today, but I didn't get to see it demolished on this day, I don't think. But yeah, it's teetering. So when he pulled on that machinery, when I was in the zoom lens, the old green box started to come down itself, but it's still hanging on by a thread. Look at that. Wow. Well, sometimes I wish those misters were not on so I could get down low and really give you a good shot. Because you can see the lower you are, the better your shots are. But there you go. He pulled it out. One big chunk. Chunk-y cheese. So when you get something that big, I guess you are really satisfied when you finally get it, because that is not easy. Well, looks like he's still working on that little chunk of metal that was not easy. Now, that mister seems to be doing its job because it's blowing right on that dust. So if anybody's watching that's concerned about the mist, well, there's only so much dust you can control on a job like this. Now, back in the day, they used to have a man with a hose, believe it or not. Now, I wonder if that became too dangerous, but used to be a man with a hose sitting there just hosing all that down. And when you have asbestos, that's probably the right thing to do, is to have a good soaking on that building. But there you go. That's what's left of that little pile of rubble. I always like to see the shadow of the drone on the roof and the dramatic fall of the deep well that they have dug. And I would say that's probably at least 6 stories deep from the top to the bottom of that thing. Yep, not much left of this section. Look at that. You can almost fit it into one drone shot. So by the next video you see, that section should be gone. Now, I've found with the brick, they do take their time with the brick. It seems like that is a special delicacy. But look at this. Look what this man has gotten himself. Oh my goodness, he's got him a chunk of treasure. That's right. Look at all that scrap metal in one pile that he pulled out. So there's got to be something satisfying about, instead of pulling one piece out, you are pulling out one big pile. And that's exactly what he did today. So we seen him take that piece down, and look at that red box. Oops, sorry, excuse me. That green box is still there hanging by a thread. That is funny. Yes, I'm going to get this drone over there on Memorial Day, believe it or not. And that will have no misters going. Now, the forecast is supposed to be windy, so I need to be careful, but I do want to get the drone on this job site when there is no activity. It'll probably be a shorter video, but it'll be interesting to see the building down low with no mister. So look at all that metal he pulled out in one chunk. Oh my goodness. Inch by inch. How do you move thousands of pounds of metal inch by inch? You don't lift it up, you drag it. So there you go. That's got to be more satisfying than, oh my goodness. Well, so he's done his part with that pile. He's drug it out of the building, and now he's putting it in a proper space for the next guy to come and chop it up. So after he drags that to the right spot, he's gonna get back to eating up that building. But he's not, he wants it away because the other tractor has to work on it. So he's not done dragging it. But there you go. One big pile just moved so far away from the other part where he's working that he needs to just stay where he's at and keep going on that corner. If that made any sense. So now that he's moved that pile to where he wants it, he's going to get back to where he actually started a good little demo corner. So this was Memorial Day weekend, like I said, and this man has packed up his lunchbox and he's walking out of that hole. You can see there's a little bit of a grade to that hole. So it is walking kind of like out of a big hill. There's that chunk of metal. What a sight to get. I wonder how much that little chunk of metal you could get at a scrapyard for. I don't know. And look at all the scrap still left in all of that. So that is going to be interesting to see that come down too. They're probably going to have to use that long arm demolition machine that's on the bottom of your screen. Well, there's that little chunk left. That's it. The problem with having everything in that hole is you have to have one guy at the top scooping it all out of that hole the whole time. So you can see one operator, his job is to constantly scoop stuff out of that hole. So there's the new operator chopping away at that pile. That man just drug that pile over, and all of a sudden there's already a guy chopping it up into smaller pieces. And yes, like I said, he is still going at that corner. Now that he has loosened everything up, this makes a perfect opportunity to really make a mess right there. So it was the end of the day, and I'm sure he's just doing a little bit of cleanup so he can tidy up his workspace for when he comes back after a long holiday weekend. But that's what's inside that one. You can see how they hollow it all out. And then this man comes and chops it all up into workable pieces. So everybody has their part here on this job, and it is like an orchestra. You got the dust control and the gravel control, and everybody has their part, and that's kind of neat to see. So hopefully everybody shows up to work every day, because it looks like everybody is needed in each station of this job. Now I wonder if the same guy does the same thing every day, or do they switch the guys around? Like one day you'll be on the magnet and one day you'll be on the boom. I don't know. I'm sure that the guys that are inside the building stay inside the building, because that seems to me like that seems like a specialized job. Oh, he might get another big chunk. Look at this. He's pulling. See, that's all wood. That's just going to come apart on you. So that's not as satisfying as that big metal. But I'm sure it's easier to break apart for sure. Look at that. It's just pulling right out of the ground. One big chunk. Okay, well, I said this video was going to get a little long, and I was right about that. But I did want to see him pull that corner out. I just wanted to see that green box fall, but it never did. A lot of other stuff fell, but not that green box, believe it or not. Okay, well, it is a sight to see, but like I said, you can only see so much of it. But I cannot see enough of it, to tell you the truth. So I'm going to continue to document this. I know it does get old, but I said it's history. So that's what we're going to do. I'll be back. And if you like these videos of this Oakland glass plant coming down adventures, well, stay tuned. There's going to be more. I'm actually going to get the drone out tomorrow morning and go, like I said, film it with nobody there. But that's what's left of that corner he was working on. And I think that's going to be what's left of this video today. But that is a mess to clean up. And there you go. That's your last look at the green box. Hanging by a thread. Isn't that funny? So stay tuned. We'll go look for that green box later in the episode. And we'll see how far they have gotten on this project. Now, here's another pro tip for you. I do talk and voice over some of these videos, but after I get done, I make a music video of the same video. So some of you might see this video again with music on it. It's called a 2-for-1, and everybody likes 2-for-1. So if you've been here at the glass plant, you know exactly where I'm filming. Right at the smokestacks. There's the chopper upper. You can see he's got his job cut out for him. Pardon the pun. Well, there's the last time you will see this building in this state. Literally, in the state of California, in the state of its demise, in this state. And look at that crew of demolition men, all of them working hard. So that's the last look you're going to get at this job on this day. It is always fascinating to see how fast they work and how slow it takes. Well, let's finish this video with the last look of what this thing looks like today. And like I said, that brick is the last little bit And I'll be curious when that comes down. So what do you think? Is it 1/4 done? 1/8 done? How much is done on this building? You do the math. I was never good at math. Okay, well, it looks like we got to see a little bit of destruction today. A little bit. You never know what you're going to get when you come out here. It could be hit or it could be miss. So some days you just strike out. Some days you hit a home run. Well, here we go. As always, I'd like to thank you guys for coming along with me on these Oakland glass plant number 068 in Oakland, California, demolition adventures. That's right. Sure does take a lot to eat an elephant, doesn't it? One bite at a time. All right. As always, I want to thank you again for coming along with me on these Oakland glass plant adventures. You know the drill. Peace, love, and all that hippie jazz. Bye-bye, everybody.